Did we just watch the Kentucky Derby winner race this past Saturday? What's up, people? We are here tonight, March 9th, recapping a couple of the races we just saw. We saw three of the bigger prep races this past weekend leading into the Tampa Bay Derby. Got my boy Vinny Blom with me. What's up, Vinny?
Not much, man. How are you?
Doing well. We are looking at the top 25 contenders at this point, which I think the big storyline for me this week is that we are starting to see the real, quote unquote, real contenders emerge. And I think the fact that our top 25 is pretty close reflects that, because we haven't been close until now.
Yeah.
When we did these shows in the past.
Yeah, I think I think the last few prep races definitely have separated who's who. Just where some of them are pointing, or some of the horses that we each had on there that either haven't still started or they started and just were bad. So I think we're kind of getting down to the obviously we still have the 100-point preps to go, but it seems like the field is taking shape at this point.
What's interesting, though, to me is that we've had, I'd say 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 dominant performances from different races, which, when you're trying to calculate, your top 10 list or top 5, top 20, top 100, whatever you're doing, it's kind of tough to say this one was so much more impressive than this one, when a lot of the races have not been a deep field, but they've had a dominant winner that kind of stuck out and wasn't even challenged. So that's made this a little more interesting.
Yeah, and that does make it tough. And then you got to kind of look at okay, who's running against who? Like, for example, I know a lot of people have Morello pretty high, and I think we both, I'm going to guess we both probably have him in our top 10. But I know some people that are saying that's their Derby horse, and it's like, well, he beat Dean's List, who ended up finishing 4th, and I don't think Dean's List wants to go more than a mile. So, what did he really beat there in the Gotham? So it's I feel like then you're kind of going to the, you really have to look into, okay, well, what were the dynamics that they won? Who did they beat? Where did they run? Because, some of the tracks definitely favor different types of runners than others.
Yeah, and a lot of the dominant wins have been against nothing competition, and it's just like we were talking to Pete the other day. He was saying the Holy Bull was kind of a inconsequential field, and it's like, but that was one of the better ones. So that's just the type of year it is this year. I mean, right. It's pretty odd. Like Unoho, for example. I mean, that horse has won and finished second in the 2 Derby preps he's run in, but we don't really know what that is. So let's just jump into it. So here's the top 25. Mine is on the left. Vinny's is on the right. You'll see a lot of similarities. The highlighted yellow horses represent horses that are running this weekend. And spoiler alert, I have 3. Vinny has 5. So Vinny sees five major contenders in the Tampa Bay Derby this weekend. I see 3. Let's start it off. We're just going to skip quickly through the 11 through 25, and then we'll go into the top 10 in more detail. Vinny, anything popping out for you looking at my top 25 versus yours that they're pretty similar?
They're pretty similar. You have Cyberknife. I have Zozos, or however you say it, for Brad Cox. I think those are these 2 real Derby contenders. I have the 2, the Tawny Point and Tis the Bomb, are both heading towards the Jeff Ruby. I still think they're both turf horses, but one of them will probably make the gate as long as they win. I feel like I only have that many Tampa Bay Derby horses because the other horses that have run in big preps have been disappointing besides the winner. So
yeah,
here's a 50-point prep that maybe we see something out of. So that's why I have as many as I do in the bottom half of my top 25.
Yeah, my bottom few there, you can tell, are horses that we expected a lot out of, but haven't shown it yet. And most of the higher up horses for me are the horses that have actually gone out into a prep race and at least finished top 3. I mean, other than my boy Straight Up G, which is just a straight fanboy of Jim Rome's stable because I think he's good for the sport.
I was looking at him earlier today. I just don't know where they're. I don't know if they're pointing him anywhere yet.
Well, there was a minor setback. They're hush hush on it right now, but Sunland Derby.
Yeah, my feeling on the Sunland Derby is if you're going to the Sunland Derby, you're going to the Sunland Derby for a reason. And I actually,
Yeah,
I said that I texted my buddy right when I saw that Baffert was sending McLaurin Vale there because I really liked McLaurin Vale.
it's the only shot you have to win.
Right, and then I saw that they were pointing him to the Sunland Derby, and I texted him like, well, I guess we were all wrong about how talented this horse is because that's like for the winner doesn't come from the Sunland Derby. You know, maybe
I mean, historically, never, right?
I remember what was it a few years ago? Everybody loved Hentz because he ran that huge number in the Sunland Derby, and then he was just a complete no show in the Kentucky Derby. Yeah, I don't think he ever showed up after that. So it's like if you're going to the Sunland Derby, in my opinion, you're going there for a reason. You're probably not that good. I can't put stock in a Sunland Derby horse.
True that. And for the functionality of keeping this thing short, because these videos tend to go too long. Me and Vinny get a little chatty. Let's just jump into the top 10 because I think we're 80% the same here. My 10 is In Due Time, who we just saw get second, right? Second?
Yep.
Ran tough, got beat, but not a bad run. That was a weird race. I don't think anybody got an ideal trip in that race. I think the best could be yet to come on that horse. I see you have him at 11, so you got some respect for him too. I think he's going to make the gate. I feel like he's going to make the gate.
I think you will too. The reason I have him at 11 is that I mean I know he was the cause of that incident with Paco. But I just didn't. I thought if he was as good as everybody was betting him because he was bet pretty good on Saturday.
Where'd he go off?
I think he went off at like 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, he was like I think he was a solid third choice if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I thought that race went off almost exactly how I expected.
He ran well. I just, and he finished well. I just think he at the end there, I think Emmanuel was tired and I think whoever else he passed there was just tired and he passed some tired horses late to pick up second. So I'm still kind of weary on if he wants to go farther. I don't, Paco's suspended now, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think this horse makes the gate.
White Abario, you're number 10. And spoiler alert, I have a little higher, but that's that horse coming off a huge win. I was more impressed with him than you were, but at 10, I mean, you got him in the mix. I think at this point we can kind of declare that. Would you say our top 10s both? In my case, I think all of the top 10 or close to it are going to make the gate at least.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, White Abario is well, no, he's not in technically. He's the only one the 10 point. Even though 10 points might get you in this year.
Maybe
it might. Yeah, he's good. Obviously, Simplification came back to win, so that makes him look good. I do kind of agree with what Pete said when we talked to him last week before the preps that he did really get a perfect trip. So I am curious, and I always hate when horses skip the preps. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like he very easily could win the Florida Derby and go on to win the Kentucky Derby, but the fact that they skipped the Fountain of Youth and then he ran AP Secret instead just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that says like maybe this horse can't handle that, these quick turnaround races. So
is that the theory for you? Like
that's I don't like I'd rather see the horse start in the 50, like skip the 10-point prep and run in the 50 and the 100.
It is
rather than run in the 10, skip the 50 and then run in the 100. Especially when it's a trainer like Safi who I've said it a bunch of times on Twitter that I definitely like Safi does some shady shit. And the fact that Safi's like, oh, well, I can't run him right now. Let me run him. Let me give him the extra month off. And it's like, oh, okay. Like it just seems weird to me that like maybe this horse isn't 100% sound and he's got him on some strict training regimen that he can have him prime for the gate, which he could win that way. But I just hate seeing horses skip preps this, especially right. Like when you're gearing up for the big 3-year-old race.
Okay, good insight there. 8 and 9, we both have the same 2 in opposite order. Mo Donegal yet to show his best in both of our opinions, obviously by our top 10 rating here, and Morello, who's coming off the Gotham win, and Morello won easily, but I don't think either one of us. I'm actually. I thought he was going to win. I didn't think it was going to be that easy, so I was probably a little more impressed with him than I thought I would be. So that's why I have him at 8. Mo Donegal, I'm basing that high rating myself on projections more so than performance because he wasn't the greatest thing we've ever seen last time out. Your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, Morello, I'm interested to see where he goes next time out. If he keeps him there for the Wood Memorial, or if he ships him out for like the Bluegrass or something, because I'd like to see him run against a little bit tougher. Even though the Wood Memorial should have a tougher field, he looked good though. I mean, he's done everything right so far. I'm still kind of seeing like, is he that type of grade 1 winner, or is he that great, that horse that's going to win like the Oklahoma Derby later this year? He is a very good horse though.
He's the best in New York right now for sure. I mean,
right,
which isn't saying a whole lot, unfortunately.
Exactly. And Mo Donegal, I do think this is Pletcher's best, and I said it last week when we talked before the Fountain of Youth. I thought this was Pletcher's best, and I didn't really like Emmanuel. I felt like if he was sending both of them there, it was not a good sign. Emmanuel did not run great, so. I mean, my thing with Mo Donegal is he's a horse that once he gets clear in the stretch, he really flies, but he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't handle turns well. So I think he's going to be that money burning horse that's always finishing second and third in these big races. So that's why I have him ranked so high, because I think he's going to run well no matter the spot. He's going to have to get like the perfect of perfect trips, I think, to win one of these races.
Yeah, I have not given up completely on Emmanuel. He's still in my top 25. You have.
Yep.
You've never been a fan though. You've been off him.
I was off him from the beginning.
But then again, you were on your boy who I gave you some shit about. You know who I'm talking about. Doppelganger.
Oh, Doppelganger. I was on that. Yep, I was on him, and he ran a very disappointing second.
All right, here we go. Let's just go ahead. We're going to take 2 at a time in the honor of saving some time here. 7, I have Smile Happy. 6, I have Messier, and Messier is my Baffert horse that is highlighted in red. And for the record, Vinny has taken all Baffert horses off. I'm sure Vinny would have Messier in the top 10 if he was, pointed up. But who knows what's happening there? Who knows? Smile Happy, I think, had a good loss last time out. Messier's done absolutely nothing wrong. Vinny has 7 Classic Causeway, which has again done nothing wrong, but that's another horse that ran downhill, won by 1,000 lengths. We don't know what he is because he was running board doing parlor tricks down the freaking front stretch. And at 6, you have Zandon, who's interesting. I have Zandon a little lower at 12, but we both have respect for that brown horse. What's up with these two?
Yeah, Classic Causeway. I'm just not a huge fan of the Tampa Bay Derby route. He was higher last time we did this. I think I had him at 3. I think I had him at 3 last time we did this. So I moved him down a little bit just because he's taken the Tampa Bay Derby route. If he wins the Tampa Bay Derby and they do run him again before the Kentucky Derby, I'll probably elevate him because I do think he's very good. And if he wins this weekend, I'm going to move him up. Zandon just didn't get the right trip last time in the Risen Star, and those top 3 from the Risen Star I thought were all legit. They're all 100%. In my top. Yep, they're all in my top 10. That was Zandon's first start of his 3-year-old year, so I think the best is I think Zandon's one of those horses that he's going to get 2 preps, and the Derby's going to be his 3rd start off the layoff for Chad. So I think this horse does have a ton of talent. And I am looking forward to seeing where he does run next. I think it's the Bluegrass they're pointing him towards.
Yeah.
So that will be
that's what it looks like, which I hope, because
yep.
I'm going to be there and I would like to
Yeah.
see him there. All right, let's move into the top 5. Zandon, don't sleep on him. We both have pretty high thoughts on that horse. Number 5, I have Classic Causeway. You have Smile Happy. We just covered those. Quick thoughts on Smile Happy, because like I said, he had a good loss, if that's possible. He didn't win, but he didn't look bad either.
Yeah,
he's still on the radar to be the winner here, right? The overall Kentucky Derby winner.
I think so, but he does have I mean, this is another year where in my opinion, there is not a superstar yet. So he does have a flaw.
Agreed.
He does have a flaw. He tried to chase. He had to chase lone speed last time, and he couldn't do it. I don't think that's ever going to change. If one of these speed horses gets loose in the Derby and can hold their speed, nobody in this class is gonna run him down. But yeah, he ran good first off. Again, he was first off the bench, so he could improve. Of the McPeak runners, he was by far the best McPeak runner we've seen so far, in my opinion. So yeah, I have him pretty high because I think that Risen Star is going to come back a very strong race.
Agreed. That was, looking back now, like, it definitely seems the deepest. Let's move up. Number 4. I have Wade Barrio. You have Epicenter. Wade Barrio, you touched on some. Like I said, I was more impressed with the win last time out. Pretty dominant win with some pretty stiff competition. Epicenter, spoiler alert again, I got him higher than you do, because I think he beat the toughest field of the year so far, and pretty dominantly. So where you at on what's your reasoning for keeping Epicenter? Because again, spoiler alert, I have him higher. Why is he 4 for you and not higher?
I have him 4 just because he did shake loose last time, and with horses like Classic Causeway, and we'll get to Forbidden Kingdom, and there's a couple others in here, like if if that Brad Cox horse Zozos or whatever, I don't know how to say it.
I'd like to see Cox involved here. He's really not involved.
He's a speed horse. So if and even like if Pletcher can sneak Pioneer or Medina in, Pioneer or Medina is also a speed horse. If some of these speed horses step up or break well in the Derby and he's not left alone, I know all along everyone's been saying Epicenter doesn't need the lead, but his best performances have been when he's left alone on the lead. So I am curious to see if he really can rate, because especially like if he has to go against Classic Causeway and Forbidden Kingdom is in the gate. So like that's another dominant speed horse that's going to be up front if he can actually sit off of him. Because I don't know I think if some of these horses hook up early in the Derby and they go, so like 20, 23 and then go 46, the back of the pack will probably come after him. So I only have him that low because I'd like to see him do something other than win as lone speed.
So because I feel the same way as you, I feel like, though, honestly, out of the top 10 we have here, at least 7 or 8 of them are speed horses. Mm-hmm. They're going to the front. Yep. So if it breaks down and these horses burn each other up, which is very possible, like what you just said about Epicenter, who's going to benefit from this? Because we talked about it last time, and I mentioned we talked about this just before Saturday, and I said maybe Rattle and Roll or somebody like that can pick up the pieces. Didn't happen. Just dominant speed horse performances so far. Wade Barrio is really the only non-absolute speed horse to win a big one so far, right? I mean,
Simplification did, and he doesn't. He's shown he doesn't need the lead. That's what I like to see.
But
he can be on the lead, but
he's going to say wasn't his initial tactic to lead though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but his last 2 races he hasn't had an ideal start, but he's been able to overcome it and run well, and that's what I would like to see from. That's what I'd like to see from Classic Causeway and Epicenter, is them not get everything they're handed to them up front and still be able to put on a good performance, because that's what happens. We saw it last year with whatever that turf horse was there. I forget his name. The one that everybody burnt money on.
Rocket World.
Yeah, we saw it with him. He ran a huge figure in the Santa Anita Derby, and everyone's like, "Oh, like this is it! Like he's gonna win! Like he's gonna win the Kentucky Derby." He broke a step slow, and he just never could recover.
Yeah,
And
he
he
was
like
100th place.
right, but like that's like I know Mendelssohn got slammed out of the gate, but the same thing his year. He broke and he didn't break on top, and he did nothing. And that's what happens with some of these speed horses. So like usually like that's how I kind of base my rankings are based off of okay, well,
Reality.
if they have a little adversity, who's going to run better? In Epicenter, he ran the Southwest. I think he finished second or third. I think he finished second.
Yeah, second.
But he was he was pressured a little bit. It was pace was pretty quick, and he finished well. So I'm not saying he can't do that. But like Classic Causeway's loss there, I know it was as a 2-year-old, like he couldn't make the lead, and he just never made up ground. So it's like, well, is he a one-trick pony and he only can run on the lead? Or like if he doesn't get the lead this Saturday, can he sit 2 lengths off and just beat everybody because he's improved?
That would be interesting to see. I don't think he's going to be challenged this Saturday, and Vinny's going to do a whole breakdown of the full field Tampa Bay Derby, which you'll give your piece on that. But yeah, I don't know if there's enough there to tell us the true story on Classic Causeway, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's kind of how I base my speed horses off of, are like, okay, well, are they who's actually going to get the lead based on like what figures, like what times they ran and like what figures they ran and who they ran against, but also who would be able to stay on if they were headed with each other. So like personally, like I think if Classic Causeway and Epicenter hooked up, I think Epicenter would be the winner of that between the two of them. So that's kind of where I rank. That's why I ranked them where I did.
Not going to get an argument out of me. Number 3, I have Simplification, who is coming off. I mean, that race is very dynamic. I mean, there was a lot happened there. Obviously, the big crash. Obviously, 3 or 4 horses trying to be in the same spot at once is what caused the crash. A lot of early speed trying to commit to the same real estate. There's 15 different ways of saying it, but at the end of the day, Simplification was way wide. I'm going to say 5 to 7 lengths wide and ran away with it, which was really impressive, just super impressive. Looking at this list now, I don't know how I keep him off of 1, but you'll see why in a minute, but just super impressive. Vinny has Charge It, which I have down at 13, who's obviously on our radar as well. Vinny, what puts Charge It that high for you above some of these big winners we've seen?
His 2 races have been very impressive, I think. And if he can handle 2 turns, I think he's going to be a huge talent. So I have him high at 3. He's going to the Florida Derby according to DRF. So we'll see if he's that good. I just think his maiden win is on par with, especially if you're a speed figure guy. He got a 94 for that his win last time out. Most of these horses haven't even run, like I think Simplification got a 96 for the Fountain of Youth win. So
that's up there. He's
right. So his maiden win is right. His maiden win's right there. So I think he could be very good. I don't know if we're rushing here. This also could be the typical Todd Pletcher horse that gets bet in the Derby, runs like 5th or 6th, skips the Preakness, and then runs away with the Belmont. So I think but him and Mo Donegal, I think are Pletcher's two best, and I'm very interested to see what he does with Charge It and how he looks in Florida.
The interesting thing to me is you're seeing, and again, this is we've been doing this. This is our 4th episode of a top 25 list. This is the first time we're actually seeing some solidarity between our choices here, because those 3 preps last week really set aside the top talent. Number 2, we both have Forbidden Kingdom, and here's another example. California. Hate to say it, The only reason he's not number one with a bullet is because he hasn't raced anybody. California is very weak, in my opinion, especially if you take the Baffert horses out of the equation. Forbidden Kingdom, dude. If that wasn't impressive, though, I mean, he could have been doing clown, like juggling, juggling through hula hoops down the stretch. Absolutely bored. American Pharaoh's my hero horse ever. Dickie Mandela, there couldn't be a better story than that. My racehorse is, you got the 10 million fans there. It's a Disneyland story, dude.
He looks great, and
you can't say anything bad.
No, he just keeps. If he runs those fractions in Kentucky and he can keep going, that's why I have him the highest of all the speed horses. If he runs those fractions in Kentucky, nobody's even going to touch him. I mean, he goes sub 20. If he goes sub 23 in the Derby, that's suicide mission for anybody else to keep up with him.
Triple Crown territory.
Like he could. I mean, he'd go quick. I am curious though if anybody actually presses him, if he is going to go that quick, and that's why I had him at 2 because I toyed with him at being number 1. But between with Epicenter in there, and there's a couple others, Classic Causeway. There's a couple others that will get in that their only chance of winning is going right to the lead. All depends, I'm curious how he runs if a horse is actually next to him, because his last 2 wins, I mean, he's broken like a rocket, but nobody's been near him. And like, that was kind of why I put him second this past weekend, and he made me look like an idiot again. Was I figured Baffert entered the other horse, not Doppelganger, the other one he entered, to be speed, to just pressure him. And the horse finished 3rd, but it wasn't close. Yeah. So if nobody
Kingdom ran away, right out of the gate, it was a no doubter.
Oh yeah, right. Once they hit the quarter, and like you realize that when nobody was within 6 lengths of him, it was like, oh well, this is done. So
thanks for coming.
That's where I'm curious if he can run next to other horses, but his fractions that he's been running, he might not need to. So that's why I have him so high.
Yep, we both have him at 2, and the only reason he's not 1, I think, for either of us is just because he hasn't been challenged, like you said. So that's an interesting storyline. Where's he going? I mean, obviously the Santa Anita Derby is. I mean, what is that going to prove though? If he runs away with that one,
he gets another.
That's my thing with the California.
He gets another prep in. It wouldn't. I'm assuming he goes there. I know Messier has already pointed there, so that would be a nice little. That will be a nice little matchup between those two if he stays there. But it's Mandela. It's my racehorse. It wouldn't shock me if they were like, you know what, we want to go to the Bluegrass with him, or or something like that. I'm going to guess 99% sure he's going to the Santa Anita Derby, but it wouldn't surprise me if they shipped him out to see how he does. And that's the other, that California track, kind of like Gulfstream, where those 2 tracks, when speed horses win, it's like, okay, well, were they really that good, or is that track a conveyor belt? So I'm still a little hesitant, but he's looking you can make a very strong argument why he's right now the top of this class.
And here we go, number 1. I have Epicenter again because I think he beat the toughest field of the year so far and made it look pretty easy. Simplification for you. The same argument can be made for that. I mean, here's my take on this. As you can see, our top 10 or 12 are the exact same. Maybe 1 or 2 different. But the difference between this year and most years, and Vinny, you can talk on this. I think any one of those top, I'm going to go down to 13 for me, can win. And last year at this time, I think we were down to 4 or 5, and we were right. I mean, Authentic was down there. It was not this deep. This is a deep year.
Yeah, it's a deep year because I don't know how good any of these horses really are.
Exactly. That's what makes it cool.
Yeah,
to me,
it does make it cool. And like the older class, honestly, I mean, you take out Life is Good and Flightline, right? The older class doesn't look that great either. I know they got Speaker's Corner, who seems like he could be an amazing miler. or any one turn race. But for the classic distance, I mean, right outside of those two, like none of these horses would be afraid of Express Train as much as I like Express Train. Like, so I mean, that's kind of seems like what we're going to get out of this crop is that type of horse. But yeah, that's why I have Simplification on top, just because he's kind of just been versatile. You know, he's been able to win on the lead. He's been able to win off the lead. He's been able to win when he doesn't have an ideal trip. He's been able to win going wide. He's run well between horses. And like in a 20 horse field, like I'd rather pick the horse that has shown he's run well in spots that aren't ideal for him, than take a shot.
Not an ideal run for him.
Right. And then play the horse that everything needs to go perfect for him to win. And I mean, I think I said it when we talked on the Fountain of Youth show with Pete. I don't really know if he could win, but he's probably going to run second, third, or fourth at least. He's just that type of horse. This is just what Sano did with Gunnevera a few years back. The horse fired every time. Didn't matter where he was in the race. You knew when they turned for home, he was going to hit his best gear. And that's what Simplification seems like. When they turn for home, he just hits his best gear. And like, he was good enough to win the Fountain of Youth. I don't know if he'll be good enough to win the Florida Derby, but he keeps running, mid to high 90 buyers. He's going to be right there in the Kentucky Derby as long as he doesn't get like absolutely destroyed early or like the jockey falls off. So that's why I have him at 1 right now, because I just don't think there's a superstar, and it could be a year that a horse like this that is just good at picking up pieces can pick up all the pieces.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, dude, like I've been watching Derby preps for 10, 15 years pretty seriously. This is the deepest one I can remember, as far as I really can reach 10 or 12 deep and justify a case for them. Yeah. Usually you have 2 or 3 or 1 that stands out, and then you're like, but this guy could win too. This is like, I mean, look at our top 10. They're the same 10, but they're in different order.
Yeah.
And dude, it's just that it makes it fun. And you're right. I don't think any of these are like their Secretariat's not coming out of the tunnel. Right?
No.
I mean, but at the same time, like that's what makes it cool. If you had a Justify in this group, it was head and shoulders above, it'd be boring. This is more fun. This is way more fun for me.
Oh yeah, this should be a great betting race, and kind of like what I said last weekend about. It's a completely different race, but like that's why I didn't feel bad trying to take the big swing against Emmanuel. I mean, I ended up being right, but what against this? Like unless somebody starts blowing out like legit fields, like I know Forbidden Kingdom did, but like unless a horse does that in 100-point prep, we're looking at a 3 or 4 to 1 Derby favorite come post time.
Yeah,
like that's a great betting race. Like if I'm
Absolutely.
and like that makes it. I mean, it makes it even harder for making tickets, because like if you're gonna give me 6 to 1 on Epicenter, like even if I don't think he's gonna make the lead, it's like, yeah, right. Like, am I really gonna stay away from that? Like that at the moment, that seems like a great bet. Same with
hang off of Way to Barrio at 12 to 1 or something.
Like I might personally, just because it's sad.
I mean,
my big issue with him.
You're a Safi hater. And by the way, whoever that was in the comments, dude, they killed you for it. And I tried to stick up, but
it's fine. I just don't until Safi starts winning big races outside of New York and some of these small tracks, or outside of Gulfstream and some of these small tracks. Like I don't care. He brought his whole battalion to Saratoga last year, and I think he won 1 race. Like
if you're watching, long shot maybe.
Yeah,
I love the man bun, dude. I want to talk to you.
Like outside of Keeneland, right? Like outside of Florida, like he doesn't like at Gulfstream. He's just one of those trainers. It's kind of honestly, I feel like he's kind of like Jamie Ness at Parks. Jamie Ness at Parks is he's an automatic play at Parks. Guy's like 50%. He ships anywhere else, and he's all of a sudden he's mortal. And it's like that's the same thing with Safi. Safi ships outside of Gulfstream, and like it's like, oh well, he's like 15%. And it's like, okay, well, why is he 30% at Gulfstream, but he can't ship anywhere? I don't know, but I'm not willing to take, like, unless that horse is head and shoulders above everybody in the Florida Derby, I want no part of him in Kentucky.
And he hasn't proved that yet, but maybe that's in the future.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a fun few weeks leading up to the Derby. Vinny, thanks for joining. Top 25, like we said, this is a big mix. A lot of the same horses, a lot of different order. And I think if we had 4 or 5 people on here, it would be the same. I think we have narrowed it down to 10 or 15. But I don't think anybody's going to agree on the order of it. I sat there and beat myself to death over the top 10, to be honest with you, like, because there's justifications for all of them to be higher than the next one.
Oh yeah.
And that's what makes it fun again. So thanks everybody for watching. Vinny's gonna have a full field Tampa Bay Derby rundown for this weekend. Stay tuned for that. Please subscribe, and thanks everyone.